Hello, this is Sandy with Needs a Ribbon, bringing you a creative way to use up your 6x6 designer series paper, or otherwise known as patterned paper. For this particular project, I will not be using a 6x6. With Stampin' Up, we call it paper stack. 6x6 papers, there's 48 sheets. It is the equivalent in paper of our 12x12 packs, most of them, because when you cut them down to it's the same number of sheets when you cut them down. But this is a great way to use up your 6x6 paper stacks. But for this, I'm going to be using up some of my excess 12x12 paper, and I'm going to share you a little tip. But first off, let's take a look at the project. Now, this project was originally shared by Sara Douglass, the CEO of Stampin' Up, at our annual convention, we'll call it, in March of 2024. And all I had to go on, I didn't even see the finished one. All I had was someone shared some measurements, and I'm like, I can do that. And so I've taken and made it my own, and we'll learn more about that in a minute. But this was my inspiration. This is what I wanted to use. This is the new Unbound Beauty. I think it's called Unbound. Oh, that's great. Get this far, and I can't remember the name of the bundle that's in the new annual catalog. I think it's called Unbound Beauty. It is one of our mega suites, which means that there are 2 bundles inside that suite plus some other goodies. And it contains all 5 of our new in colors, which are starting May 1. But this is what I had to go with. I have, since I made the first one, modified the measurements a little bit, but I still thought this one was beautiful. Let's take a look. I've made a ribbon closure. It is an album that you could put pictures in or whatever. I mean, you could use this as a wedding gift. And again, this was my first one. So I have taken, this paper comes in 12x12 paper. I have cut it down to 6x6, and I'm using front and back of the paper, and I laid them out in a very pretty manner. So we get kind of a muted pattern, and then a wild pattern, and then a muted pattern. It's not really real, more subtle pattern, more obvious pattern. That's really what it is. It's not a wild pattern. And so on until we get to the end. Okay? And the finished size on this is, and again, this was a prototype that I based the others on. And you'll learn some tips and tricks on how to make this successfully by watching the entire video. And the finished album size is 3 1/4 by, I actually have to go and look. The finished size is 3 1/4 by 6 1/2. So what that gives you is a 1/4 inch on all 3 sides, and then the binding side. So, but let's set this one aside, and I want to show you a few more before we dig in. I made this one, and I don't like the measurements on the front of my cover. I laid it down crooked. I know that. I don't care. This may not ever get used anywhere or gifted. I also don't like my measurements. I've since modified things again. But this is using the Rockstar. I think it's called Rockstar Bundle, which is a stamp and die bundle, which is actually retiring. And it has this lovely guitar pick. Anyway, I don't want to go into it. And I used our gold faux leather trim as a closure because it reminds me of a guitar strap. Well, not really, but kind of, you know what I mean. But I actually decorated this one a little bit. And my binding is not holding very good. Again, as I made these, I kind of worked on some modifications, but I took that gold glimmer paper and cut out some of the dies from the Rockstar little stars, but you can see how we have a patterned paper. And then I went subtle and then a very vibrant pattern. And okay, so let's go back. Pattern. Did I miss one? So pattern. I put some stars there, and I fussy cut out the rock and roll from the stamp. Another in both corners, and then this one with the microphone, and colored the microphone and die cut it with the subtle. And then that means I guess our next one is subtle, but I took some actually paper that is coming out and made that's wood grain and made the drumsticks. Now the paper I used is from the Rockstar Suite, and it is all black and white. This I thought would be great for color photographs, especially if they're not too colorful. The other one, the first one I showed you, the Unbound Beauty, that's the name of it, Unbound Beauty. I would recommend maybe print your photos in black and white just because that pattern paper is so vivid and beautiful. It's just an idea. You do you. And then this one, I'm like, okay, I'm seeing an easier way to make this. This is using, and I buried it. This is using our note cards. Oh my gosh, there has never been an easier way. So it uses I used the very vanilla note cards for this. There are reasons for that, but by all means, we have basic white and very vanilla note cards. Everything is pre-cut and pre-scored with your pages. So let's take a look. Let's take a look. And then I just use punches and a little bit of stamping, and I think that is from that Unbound Beauty. And again, we need to work on that binding on the back. I am completely winging it. I do not know when Sara Douglass demonstrated this, what she used. So the finished paper in here is 3.5 by 5 then. So our finished album size is 3 3/4 by 5.5. But this would make a great journal, wouldn't it? Or a sketch journal or something. Or a friend. Or like a teacher gift. You could have all the kids sign their name, or use it as a wedding guest book, or going about, someone's retiring, going away. That's just some ideas I've thought of. Anyway, we'll get to those measurements, but let's go ahead and get started. So I will, at the end of the video, I will pop on my instructions so you can pause to view them. And obviously I have some modifications already, even after spending a lot of time typing this up. The proper ones with the final instructions will be at the end. This one does have metric measurements. My other ones for the note cards do not, because I was able to get these from Sara Douglass's presentation, thankfully. Someone who knows metrics, I could have looked it up, I suppose, but I'd rather hear someone who is more familiar with the metric system redo this and verify that the note card size stuff works. So the instructions are 2 pages. Here are your measurements. Here are the items that you need, your cutting instructions, your scoring instructions, and how many you need of each. And then the supplies generally needed for this is a standard sheet of cardstock, other cardstock for decorations, your pattern DSP, either in 12 by 12 or 6 by 6 paper stack, a paper trimmer with a scoring tool or some kind of cutting method and a scoring tool. Scissors and a bone folder are recommended, and your adhesives are as follows. You need some kind of glue, a tape runner, a strong adhesive, maybe even a glue gun for the inside, and we're going to try that on this one. That's why I've got a glue gun chilling on the side here. And for your final decorations, you need pictures or other decorations, whatever you're going to do with it. And again, I've got some basic measurements, and then on page 2 of the instructions is the actual, step-by-step instructions on how to assemble all this. So let's go ahead and get started. This will also be included in the video, just so you can kind of get an idea of the basic cutting instructions for the 6 by 6 paper notebook. Okay? That's what it's meant to fit, is 6 by 6 paper. So let's set this aside and bring in our trimmer. I'm going to use the Stampin' Up trimmer, which has both cutting and scoring for this. And you're not going to see me cut and score all the paper. We're just going to do one sheet just because I want to give you a tip. But I've already pre-done a lot of it because why? I mean, you can pause and make this. So just a little tip. It will take, the 6x6 one will take 9 or 10 sheets of pattern paper because it is thinner. And we'll go over the notes for the note card sized one because that paper is really thick. I think it's thicker than normal cardstock. I'm not entirely sure, but that is some really thick stuff. So I have already cut this. This is from our mega pack that was in an annual catalog. So we're going to use that. And then this is the back side. And I haven't put these in order yet. But first off, actually, I'm going to digress. And we're going to bring in a 12x12 sheet of cardstock. And this is my tip for how to make this if you're using 12x12 and not a 6x6 paper stack. And again, I'm using Stampin' Up terminology. I don't know what other manufacturers have, but take your 12x12 sheet of paper, cut it in half at 6 inches, set that aside because we're not going to use that. And we're going to bring this over, slide it over because my nifty difty trimmer does both. At the 3-inch mark, we're going to score down, and then we're going to turn it and cut it again at 6. So that way we get this side and then this side to use, okay? That is my tip for using 12x12 paper. I mean, you could do it and have all the papers be, you know, front, back of this even. You do you. I'm going to put this aside for a minute because we're going to put, where is my instructions? Where are my instructions? Okay, so we're going to put aside our papers for a minute. Our papers have Fresh Freesia and Night and Navy. And I think I'm going to use, I was going to use a different paper. Okay, I messed up. That's okay. That's okay. It's all going to work out, people. Never mind. I do not do Post-it notes when I do these videos. Very rarely do I, so it may seem chaotic. It's not. I'm going to use, I'm trying to decide because the paper is mostly Fresh Freesia and Navy, and this is Fresh Freesia and Navy. We need a color for our card base that kind of pulls it all through. And I brought in crushed curry too. Spend more time thinking about it while you're making a video, Sandra. Wouldn't be the first time. I'm gonna veto crushed curry. I'm inclined to do the Fresh Freesia. So what we need to do, and again, I'll work from this, and you're not going to be able to see all the instructions. Again, we're going to walk through this, and you will get the actual instructions at the end. So we need to cut our paper, our cardstock, to 8 1/4 by 9. Here is my tip. Since it's going the width way is the only way you can get going the length is the only way you can get 9. So my recommendation, rather than measure out 8 1/4, just trim off 1/4 inch from 8 1/2. It's that simple. It's that simple. And then now I need to extend the arm of my trimmer. Sorry, it's going to be a lot of banging with the trimmer. And we need to cut it till 9 the long way. Okay. And this is just excess, 2 inches of excess. So that would be another way to do it, is you're just cutting 2 inches off the length of a standard A4 sheet of cardstock. Okay, just the little tips. That might be useful to put on here too if people don't have a trimmer that where the arm extends, is you're just really trimming off 2 inches off the long side. So maybe I will do that for you all. So we've cut our cover. Now we need to score it. And this is our score blade. We're going to score. So the measurements, here's my little tip. I have the measurements going across the width of the paper and across the length. Actually, the first scoring measurements on here are for the short width the shorter length, if you will. So two ways you can look at this is you can look at it goes, you want to score it at 7/8. So I'm at 7/8. And then at 7 3/8, I could go over here and I could do 7 3/8 and do it that way. But really the easier way is just flip your paper around and do 7/8 on the other side. Okay, so that's it for scoring the short width. The long width, where we're going to fold it and make the front and back covers, that's also a little tip for you. The longer side is what's going to be, you know, this part. Has a few more measurements. So those measurements are 7/8 again, because we're doing 7/8 all the way around, really. So that's another tip, is you could just do 7/8 all the way around and eliminate that. But for the sake of this video, we're going to go properly across all the measurements. So 7/8 and then 4 1/4. And then 4 3/4. We're making a 1/2 inch gap there. And then 8 1/8. 8 1/8. Which again, whoops, we got it going the wrong way. That's okay. 8 1/8. Where's my 1/8? Right there. So that really, yep, that should really be 7/8 on this side of your, if you're using a Stampin' Up trimmer. Okay, those are all our cutting and scoring measurements. So taking a look at our instructions, we want to cut the cover, we want to score the cover. Now the next tip, the next thing that we do, and again, you don't absolutely have to follow these instructions as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, but for the sake of the video we will. So the next thing we need to do, I did not bring, it's okay. So two ways we're going to do this. We need to whack off the corners. Like on here, we need to whack them off because we're going to fold them in and we don't want all that excess bulk. So what I've done on my little template here is you're going to, two ways to do this. You have a Stampin' Up trimmer. After making all these, I've kind of perfected this. So one thing you can do is put it, and I will have a picture of this. So your point is at the 1 1/4 mark on the other side of the cut line, and you cross that mark and that mark. Or the other way to do it is to take and trying to think how to do this, is I don't know my markings this way as well, is we're going to take and mark, we'll do this 4 times, so 1 3/4, and then I'm going to do this on the grid paper because I don't know how to, so we're going to mark at 1 3/4. That's exactly why I don't. I wish I had a pencil, and that's okay. I'm going to get through this. 1 3/4, getting cut off anyway. And 1 3/4 going this way. All right, 1 3/4. And we're going to go ahead and we can take and make a line there. And that'll be our curved line. So again, we're going to do this 4 corners. We're going to do it 2 different ways. I want you to learn both. So there's one cut line. So let's go ahead and measure off 1 3/4 and 1 3/4, and okay, so that's one way that we can cut those corners off. let's bring them over here. Let's line it up in our trimmer track. So there's two, soon to be 2 corners. Again, I've made 3, soon to be 4 of these. And we'll probably be making more. So again, the other way would be to take and put this point on the 1 1/4 track. And I found if you line up on those two, cross those 2 points, and that really ends up being 1 3/4. Make sure your little corner is indeed over the cutting guide, and then we'll repeat that. So then all 4 corners, and you'll have learned 2 different ways to do this. Okay? Okay. Just making sure. And again, if they're not super accurate, it really isn't a deal breaker, because that did not, yeah, it did. Okay. Wow. Color me silly. I think we're done with having the big arm. So now we've got our base cover. Let's take a look at our instructions. So we need to burnish our score lines. So we want to take, and you can just take and fold them like this, or you can use a bone folder if you really want to make sure those are nice and smooth. Look how nice those corners are. You'd think I was a professional. Just kidding. And I want to take and burnish that. And again, you can just use your fingers if you don't own a bone folder or something else to use. But there we go. That's really well burnished. I didn't burnish my other ones at all. They still worked out, but I thought I'd teach you the proper way. Cut mid flaps. Okay, so let's bring in our little cheat thing. So I put in here, so our score lines you can see come down. There's only a 1/2 inch gap there. We want to cut a little bit wider up to this line, just because those flaps are going to go up, and you want to make sure that they're not going to get caught in that gap. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So here is our score line. We're going to go just 1/16 of an inch even out to that score line, to our 7/8 inch line, and then we can cut this flap out. Again, doesn't have to be perfect. It's all getting covered up anyway. So you're just cutting out a slightly bigger piece than the 7/8 by a little over a 1/2 inch, or 1/2 inch on one side and a little bit more on the other. And now we need to just cut that little hunk off like that. And see, that way when you fold it up, you're going to bypass any possible fold issues right there. Hope that makes sense. So where are we with our instructions? We've burnished, we've cut our mid flaps. Now we need to cut the inside covers. So I did not write the instructions on here, and that's okay. I'm really okay with that. I can maybe, if you think that might help you. So we need to cut our inside cover is, and I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use white for the inside cover. Is that why I brought white over? I think it is. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. So our inside cover is 3 1/4 by 6 3/8. So I guess we will need our arm out on my trimmer. So we're going to cut on our short side 6 3/8, which really comes out right where there is plastic. And now this is extra, and 3 1/4. So all of a sudden I'm freaking out thinking, I think it's slightly less than that. That's okay. We will put the proper instructions at the end, proper measurements. You know why? because nope, that's really barely fits. Okay, we're good. But I will put the proper instructions because really, see, take a look. You're wanting to cover most of that, like a book, like you would with a book. And did I cut both of them? I sure did. Wow, I'm proud of myself. Okay, we're not done with our trimmer, but we're done for now. So we got some work to do. We're bringing over covers in this. So our next instruction got buried here. Our next instruction is we're going to cut the outside cover. Okay, let's do that. That's on our instruction. Outside cover is 3 by 6 1/4. I'm going to use my navy for that. And I guess I need my little arm flappy again. So we're going to go to 6 1/4, which is a nearly impossible to see measurement on here, and that's fine. I've been known to then take 11 and minus 6 1/4 and figure out what's left and do it that way, because sometimes that mark can be hard to see. But we need, I'm going to do 2 outside covers, and I said they were 3 by 6 1/4. So I need, so I cut that along as you saw. Not, there we go. So along the short edge. So those are our front covers. And I want a layer on top of that, a decorative layer, only on the front. So if it's 3 inches wide by 6 1/4, it would be 6 and 2 3/4 then to add a layer. And I think we're going to use this just because it's kind of fun. Boss 6. Okay. Hopefully we're done with the trimmer for a little bit. Whoever wrote these instructions probably shouldn't be flipping back and forth, but that's, you get it. That's part of why I have these instructions of every cutting and scoring here. You can do them in any order and then go into the instructions. But I'm trying to teach you by how I wrote this up. It's all good. It is all very good. So we've got our covers. We've got our inside cover. And have we got enough pages? I said 9 to 10 of the DSP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we've got another sheet of this. You know what I'm going to do? Do I have enough? Yep, we're going to just cut one of these. Kind of pull that in rather than having so much of that blue flower. 6 by 6. And at 3 inches, we're going to score. Yep, I'm happy with that. Hope you are too. So we've got all our inside. And the reason I say 9 to 10, it kind of depends on how many photos you think you're going to be adding in here, because that's going to add to the bulk of the book. Case in point, when I started adding decorations, I mean, you still got some until you get, you still got some gappage to add photos, but you want your book to be undecorated, much smaller than that 1/2 inch that the measurements give you. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So we've cut, we've scored, and I showed you the cheat on that. Burnish the pages. This is going to be how I burnish them, because if you burnish too hard, you're going to end up starting to break the paper. And so the folds are all on one side, and I just took and did this. It really does just give them a good squeeze. And the fibers are so thin in these papers, it really is enough. The more you play with them, the more you can end up breaking them down. Just to let you know. Okay, so we burnished. Now we need to place our pages in our desired order. And I know we'll be needing this in a moment. So let's put them in order of what I was thinking. I kind of like the front and backs going this way, so we get a softer pattern and a harder pattern, however you want to call it. And now in this we're going kind of blue, not blue. I also like that too. So we need another blue. No? Make sure our lemons are facing the right way. And that's okay. Ooh, I like that. What do you think? Yes. Yellow, yellow, yellow. Yellow fellow. And then we can bring in our blue. Actually, you know what? We're going to go that way. We're going to go that way. Because then we're bringing in the pinks. Actually, we're going to, yep. Nope. I like ending on that flower. I am satisfied. So let's take one more look. So I've done front and back, front and back, front and back of sorts, back and front, and 2 randoms. Okay, so we're going to adhere our pages together. And here is a little tip. I rarely use this Scotch ATG advanced tape glider machine, but I found it was really a good tool for this project. Just because you can move faster. Now with something like this is a more permanent adhesive, but there is no give. So why don't we do a few pages using this and a few pages using the Tombow Mono Green Glue, just so we can see the difference. So what you want to do is put your adhesive down, and I've done these all different ways. I definitely recommend with the note cards to put tape on all 4 sides. It really isn't important on the DSP stuff. Putting on the 2 long sides is enough. Trust me. That paper is not very strong. But with that cardstock, it wants to fight. So what you want to do is then you want a hard squared surface. You want to take your your neck sheet, slide it along, bump it up, and make sure it's squared on the ground like that. Then bring it up so that fold is square on the ground, and do that. Let's repeat that. And then we'll do some with the glue. We do have some play with the glue. You have a little bit of play with this because my first one I had to peel a little bit apart, but not always. So let's see that in action again. Want to slide it along. Make sure that's square. Make sure it's squared. Make sure that fold is on the ground on your flat surface, and shore it up like that. Okay? So next we'll use some of our what I call green glue. And if you've watched my videos before, whoa, that really wants to run. So this we can be a little sloppy with. So we always want to place the adhesive on the outside flap. And we're going to slide it along, match it up. And again, with this, you can get a little bit of play there. Like that. But you risk it ooking out. That's why I don't like to go too close to the edge. So you slide that around. Okay. Now we want to Now I'm all confused. So we did that, we did that, and that. Okay. They got out of order here, if you saw that. So now you want to slide it along, make sure everything's squared. And again, we have a little bit of play with this green glue. Press it down. Like that. Okay, let's do that again, and then we'll switch back to the tape gun. Or you could use inline tape, a tape runner of some type. Stampin' Up has some. Want to make sure those, just like you're making a book, you want to make sure they're super square. So let me show you how you can just you really don't need the top, all four. It holds up plenty. So let's square it up. Slide, do our slide. Doing the cha-cha slide here. And let's do go back to glue for this one. Okay. And let's slide. Make sure it's square. And square. Give it a hold. That's the other thing is with the tape you can keep going. The glue you got to wait till it soaks in just a few seconds. So your choice. Okay, there we go. So that is our book pages. Take a look at those. Isn't that pretty? That is really pretty. And man, is that an even job. Well done. I'm just going to give it a little squeeze to make sure. Okay, so we've taken step 12 and done all our pages. So our next step, I think we are actually all done with our trimmer for this book. So our next step was we want to, and I think I can put this aside because we're done with that. Our next step is we want to fold in our flaps. Now you can use glue or you can use a tape runner, but make sure whatever you're using is a fairly strong adhesive because with cardstock, and I do recommend cardstock on the book cover, much like having a hardbound book. That cardstock, since you're trying to press it flat, it does want to fight a little bit. And I do feel it makes a more substantial cover than the pattern paper would, DSP. But, see, doesn't want to fight it. Stronger tape. Look at how beautiful those corners cut. So next up, we want to put in our inside covers. Again, we are literally building a book. So again, these are just covers, truly. You can do 4 sides or 2 sides. But if your tape is strong enough, 2 sides should do it of tape. We want to just center that over our pretty little book. And you're not going to have, again, it goes almost to the edge. Doesn't that look just like a book? It sure does. Again, you can use glue for this, but just to have to wait a few extra seconds while I'm filming, I thought a tape runner would be, as you saw with the pages, both work. It's coming together. So we want to adhere the flaps closed. We did that. And here the inside and outside covers. But if you were going to make a closure, well, let's do that. I'm only going to do navy on the back, and I will do glue for this. That's fine. Actually, before we put our outside cover on, we want any layers, not decorations, just paper layers. Should do it now. And I just realized by using this kind of accounting paper, you could even write on here if you've got really pretty calligraphy handwriting. Got a little smudgy there. It's gone. Good. It's good. But if you're going to put a ribbon closure or some other kind of closure, now is when you want to do it. You want to take and lay. I'm going to do ribbon. If you want to do a paper flap, I actually have another video on how to add the paper flap and when. It is another book video which holds 10 to 12 finished cards. So you can go ahead and look for that video, and that talks about how to make the paper closure, which I would recommend the same one for this. But you want to go ahead and lay your book flat outside up or inside facing down, and you want to put your adhesive. We're going to kind of bypass that ribbon area and make sure it's facing the right way. So I'm doing the front cover. And we're going to slide that around to kind of spread that glue. And I'm leaving about an 1/8 inch border all the way around. Okay. It's looking really pretty, looking really sharp. And the back cover, I don't think I showed you the back on this. I actually did pattern paper on the back of my Unbound Beauty one. And for my Rockstar one, I left it blank. And for my note card one, I put paper there too, but I kept it more neutral. So I wanted to show you all the different ways that you could do your back. You can either leave it, blank. You could put a little message on the back even, with love from the family of blah, blah, blah. Type out a message or handwrite. Again, if you need handwriting. For me, that would be typing. Printing. That would not be. So we've got that. We're going to just, again, so our ribbon slides. How much ribbon do you think we need? We have 17 plus or 16 plus. I would go about 30 inches just to be safe. I don't think you need that much, but I would say 30 inches for ribbon. Again, you don't need that much, but just to make sure, especially if you want a big floofy bow. So 30 inches of ribbon. I will add that right now on my notes. Right now, so I remember. I never measured before. Now, we are almost done with this. Can you believe that? And it really is, it actually goes really fast once you kind of get the mechanics of it. If you're going to make a bunch of these for, let's say, a grad coming up or a wedding or this is definitely the season for this kind of thing. So with my other books, what I did, and I can't take them apart, but you can see how they're kind of coming apart. I used the ATG or the tape runner, and it's not super sticking. I know our tear and tape wouldn't necessarily hold it for a long time, and that's okay too. I mean, it's fine, but what I thought I would try, and again, I'm trying this right here with you. I have not pre-done this. I'm going to put hot glue. And it's dropping. Oh, blessed Mary. Now I'm going to burn my hand. Darn. Oof. That. So we're going to run some tape, hot glue. Whoop. I need another stick. Yes, I have this little Ryobi glue gun. Come on. I don't have the really long glue sticks. I'm going to move this out of the way so I don't goop it. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Sorry to take video time. Why is it not kind of at that in-between stage? There we go. There we go. We're going to put a lot of hot glue right along there. And I think hot glue is going to be a better ticket. And I kind of use the tip of that to spread that out. Much like when they use mucilage or whatever they really use for book bindings. So we're going to take that, not burn our hands on the hot glue, and I'm going to keep our book flat, our cover. We're going to aim this. Again, with the hot glue, you also have a little bit of play. You want in a 1/4 inch from the top and bottom. Like that. And we're going to just kind of press that down until that glue sets. And I think that is going to be far more successful. And I have a little bit of glue down here and a little bit of glue escaped here. And you can use an adhesive eraser, or since it's hot glue, you can even just take and kind of rub it out or trim it out. Hot glue is pretty, especially since it hasn't set for too long. It's still a little pliable. Again, you see books, sometimes there's a little exposed glue, but you could take and make sure I'm on camera. I'm just kind of trying to trim that out. I did not bring an adhesive eraser, but that would also work to pull that out. Again, I have no idea what Sara, when she demonstrated this, what she actually used. She might have used tear and tape. She probably, I don't know, but that is holding, people. Again, other ways. Why is there goobies there? I don't like goobies on my book. That an adhesive eraser will take that out. But there is our book. And again, about 30 inches of ribbon. And that's why I say that, because then you get the really long tails. And if someone wants to tie it back up, it makes it a little easier. You could go and trim up those tails real pretty. Do the professional angle cut. But there is our book. Isn't that cool? I think it's really cool. So there's our, when I publish this video, I will share with you all the proper instructions, updated and current. Let's take a look at all our pretty books. I'm not going to worry about tying that one. But what a great idea to use if you're sitting on a lot of 6x6 paper, or 6x6 or 12x12. If you're sitting on a lot of pattern paper and not sure what to do with it because you don't use that much in other projects in card making, maybe you don't scrapbook a lot with it, whatever, however you use paper. Wow. Isn't that just, that's beautiful. So let's take a look at our, sorry about that, reach. In any case, our notebook one, I buried it in making this, and that's fine. So I will, at the end of the video, I will also put my proper, and here is the notebook one. I will just hold this here. Someone wants to pause the video and take a look, but I'll also include a picture at the end. So many ways to get the measurements. It's easy, and I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy making this project. Please let me know or post or let me share what you do with it. I'm really curious. I think the notebook one would be really great for, again, making a little journal or a little signature book or something like that. But thank you for joining me for, let's take a look. We don't need to see all that paperwork. Thank you for joining me, and I am now cleaning up hot glue strings everywhere. Okay, and on that note, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me. This has been Sandy with Needs a Ribbon.